Town Council meets tonight. It's a COW meeting, the Committee of the Whole meeting, and that's the meeting where you have all kinds of reports, both the reports from the town personnel and outside visitors and guests on some occasions. It's really the same agenda, basically month after month after month. And we won't know what's in those reports, of course, until tomorrow. But generally speaking, is there something to watch out for tonight?
I'm not thinking there is. There's nothing jumping out at me. I mean, basically, it's just what the various committees, departments have been doing for the previous month. And it's one way of keeping council informed, as well as the viewing public who watch it, as to what's been happening in the month, why something happened or why it didn't happen. I guess this was before I came to office, but they discovered that they used to do it at a council meeting, and the council meetings go on forever. But this way it's kept separate. So any motions we have will happen at a council meeting. But this is more of an information session than anything. So it's just to keep everybody in the loop.
Now, of course, the province has put out a pitch. They're asking for public input on the sale of alcohol. And, of course, we know full well the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission has its stores all over the place, and then some agency stores. They also opened up the breweries and the wineries to be able to sell on site where the product is made. They've opened up a little bit to farmers markets to sell booze. And now they're asking about more. In talking with the Minister of Natural Resources, not his department, but as a member of the cabinet last week, Tory Rushton, he said it comes in concert with the opening up of the trade barriers between provinces. And that seems like a kind of a convoluted way to get at a topic, but it's on your agenda too, the availability and access of alcohol, its use, its impacts. Is this just simply a follow-up to the province's request, or is there a concern in your town?
I think it's just a follow-up to the request for input from the province as to how they should be, what direction they should be going in. And like I say, it's just more information, because the more information you have, the better decisions hopefully you can make. So, I noticed that on the agenda as well this morning when I was reviewing it, that it's there. So,
do you mean to tell me that you're just like me? I'm looking at the agenda this morning in order to talk with you. You're just looking at it today too?
I always review it before I come talk to you, Bill, because I never know if you're going to catch me up on something.
Oh, I'm not trying to catch you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I have to stay on my toes. I have to stay alert.
Well, that's not for me. That's for your townsfolk, not for me, please. Yes. I will protect you. If they come after you, you call me.
Well, I'll sleep better tonight, just knowing that, Bill.
Now, on another topic, it's been there for the last number of months, frankly, and that is the town council meeting, followed by a special in-camera meeting. And I've asked you a number of times, what's going on? More and more and more. Well, all of a sudden now, I understand you've got a special town council or town meeting coming up that might finally tell us what you've been up to behind those closed doors.
Are you talking about that special meeting we're having next week?
Yes, I am.
Matt DeLorean. Okay, well, that's not so much behind closed doors topic. We had this Matt DeLorean in. He's part of the asset management program the town got involved with. Well, it was before I was elected, so it was about 6 years ago. And the people in the know realize that municipalities' infrastructure is going to start to fail soon. There was a lot of infrastructure put in after World War II. There was Boomtown, and very few municipalities put any money into maintenance on it. You put those pipes in the ground and off you went and you did something else. Well, if you followed the news in the last year, there's been some major water breaks in some major cities because that infrastructure is going to fail. It's starting to fail now. So we've got to prioritize what gets fixed first, so we don't have a catastrophe of, a 6-inch water main completely shattering and putting the town out of water, say. So this asset management looks at all the underground water lines we have, storm drains, sewer, and looks at where we should do the next project. What's the most important? We did Foundry Street last year because our town crew was tied up a lot with water breaks on that. So it jumped to the head of the line. But that's how we prioritize that. What stands the most chance of failing in the near future? And that's where we've got to put those tax dollars to work and put them in reserve so we can get those 50-cent dollars and start applying for grants to get these projects completed. So, it's sort of looking after our infrastructure has to take priority over repaving the streets because we know almost all of our infrastructure has got to be replaced within the next 20 years. Well, there's not much sense in paving something if we're going to dig it up in a year and a half's time to do a complete water main replacement, storm drain replacement.
Now, talking about infrastructure and what you just said, two things come to mind. First, you said dealing with infrastructure that's 100 years old and it's soon going to start to break. You said, and at least a dozen people spit their coffee out in Oxford hearing you say that, saying, "Wait a minute, we've been breaking our water pipes here for years. We're not waiting for more."
And that's exactly. Now we had a major water break here. I guess it was Saturday. The boys were working until midnight trying to fix it, but it was an old water line that, well, we didn't even realize it was running water. Weren't aware of it. It didn't show up on our infrastructure map. That's how old it is. It was a buried line. So, like I say, and that broke. And the boys were there almost 12 hours trying to get it fixed. It was a lot of work. So issues like that have to be dealt with. So, like I say, our asset management plan isn't 100% accurate, but as best as they could put it together from old maps and whatnot, that's how we focus where we're going to spend our major project money.
And there's a very good example of what you're talking about. The very fact that you've got water pipes that are in the ground and arguably still working that you don't even know are there is an indication of the problem at hand. These things go back, like you say, 100 years ago. In many instances, they were part of the pre-war or post-war, between wars effort to really build up the country, done in a hurry. And at the time, like you said, everybody was happy to have new water pipes, new sewer systems, and everybody smiled and went about their business. Very few, if any, sat down and said, okay, we need to look at these every once in a while, so let's get a map of where they are. People just assumed that you would remember because they tore up your street to put the pipes in, and everybody would remember that. Well, 100 years later, those folks aren't here to remember for us.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I think the water in Oxford, probably about 115 years old, if I'm not mistaken, is when they first started laying town water lines. So we're still using some of those pipes, it seems.
Now, I picked on you a little bit there by jumping you when you say the pipes are about to break, kind of. But the fact of the matter is, when a water pipe breaks, that's the urgent requirement right then and there. Right. And as you pointed out, Town Works went there, worked 12 hours and dealt with the problem. But this meeting is not about which one's going to break next. This meeting is about a little more than that in trying to understand what you have, what state it may or may not be in, and what you should expect to have to fix before you have to fix it.
Exactly. Preventive maintenance. None's been done probably for the last 80 years, so now's the time we have to really seriously start looking at it if we want to make sure we've got safe drinking water for everybody. That's the prime objective is to make sure the citizens have good drinking water, safe drinking water. So, and the other fact that doesn't even get discussed is we know that some of our pipes are leaking. We don't know how much because it's just seeping into the ground. It's not bubbling up to the surface. The town spends money to get that water to the pipes. We're running pumps out at the wells. We're putting chlorine in it. All this costs money. But if we have leaking pipes underground and we don't know where they're at, it's money lost. It's poorly spent money if we're just there's just an open tap somewhere and it's just running away. So, that's the other thing about doing these projects is we can find where these slow leaks are and stop them. It'll save us money in the long term.
Now, just to be clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, we talk about infrastructure, and you've been talking about water pipes in particular, but sewer pipes are part of infrastructure. And here's the part where I say, correct me if I'm wrong, your roads and streets and your town hall, that's all part of the town's infrastructure, is it not?
Well, that's a good question, Bill. I never thought of that. They're part of the town assets. When I think of infrastructure, I think of anything that is underground, under asphalt or buried underground. That's how I term it. Now, I could be wrong in how I look at it, but you're probably right. I mean, you got to have a town hall to have town hall meetings type of thing. So I guess that is infrastructure. We are trying to look after our buildings as best we can. None of them are new.
Well, I'm glad you said that then, and that poses the question in this meeting to take place. This is a town meeting, not a town council meeting, but you're correct. Inviting all the town to come out. And, talking about the water pipes, that will get some people's juices flowing, no question, no pun intended either. But at the same time, you've got concerns at the town hall. There are a lot of concerns about the pavement and the condition of the streets, and these have to be taken care of after you fix what's under them. So it's part and parcel of understanding then the way that all of the town's infrastructure comes together and establishing some priorities to get it all brought up to snuff, and then with a plan to maintain it that way.
That's right. So, like I say, we're chipping away at I know years ago there was some engineers came in and looked at our town hall building, and I think they sort of presented the town with a bill to fix the building up to snuff, which was almost $1 million, and this was back probably 10 years ago. This council, the present council, and the last one actually, we kind of looked at it and said, we probably can do it a little less, for a lot less than that. So we've been chipping away at the town hall, taking on one project a year, putting some money aside to keep the building up. Like I say, last year we put on a steel roof. We no longer have water pouring in through the building. So that was a big start. We've got a couple of projects we have to do this summer, but the building we don't have water pouring in, so the building will last. That was a big thing. But you're right, that probably should be considered part of the town infrastructure.
So when is the meeting? Where is the meeting? And let's pound the drum about the meeting. And this is big. This is important, folks.
Well, this is an information session, so the people of the town get we're on council. We hear this a lot. Those that want to know will have a better understanding of why we do the projects we do when we do them. And the meeting is at the town hall next Wednesday, June 18th at 6 p.m. And we plan to broadcast it live if we can as well. Matt DeLorean is our expert. He is there to answer questions about why we have to do things. He won't specifically be answering questions about what we're going to do next. That'll be up to town council to decide with his recommendations. But all things being equal, he will have lots to say, and he's very familiar with other communities and their infrastructure. So he's well versed in this. So it's basically why we're doing what we do and why we have to do it.